Hi, everyone. Good morning and good evening to you, David. I'm here with David Boyar, the CEO and owner of SQL CFO, which is an Australian-based company, having introduced a new concept called the virtual CFO. And I'm very much interested to hear from you, David, what that is all about. So thank you very much for taking the time. I know it's late your time and it's early my time, but that's the great thing about the global world we live in. So this virtual CFO concept, it goes into this business of one, which is sort of a global trend where people are going more freelance and doing work on their own instead of being attached to a company. But you're telling me that the virtual CFO concept is a bit different. So can you tell me a bit more about that? Because I think that's very interesting for my readers and following.
Yeah, sure. So virtual CFO is really an extension of a type of business model that came out in the States. So in America, a lot of CPAs will run something called client accounting services, which was the outsourced accounting function for small, medium businesses. What's really changed since that's been around is this introduction of cloud accounting. And Australia is one of well, I think we are the global leader on adoption of cloud accounting. And the reason for that is Xero, a New Zealand-based company, originally founded in New Zealand, but like all good things out of New Zealand, Australians like to claim it, sort of Russell Crowe and Xero. And what the introduction of the cloud did is it made data available for decision makers. It helped capture a lot of data, and it enabled businesses, as you phrased it, to be able to look at a lot of things at once without necessarily having to be on site. It also completely changed the way accounting functions worked, because moving paper-driven processes with lots of manual work into the cloud increased a lot of efficiency. So as part of that, the tool was created to be able to service many clients at once. The trend that sort of then came over the top of that was, well, I always think is that technology is fantastic, but it's until it gets into the hands of people like us and finance professionals that we can actually turn it into something valuable and insightful. We have this global trend, and it's happened in Australia, where senior finance professionals in industry are sort of struggling in the workforce. They're getting pushed out of the workforce. Definitely, we hear the noise about machine learning and AI reducing the number of jobs in accounting and finance. You write a lot about it and you give a lot of tips of what people should be doing to prepare themselves for that. But also, at certain stages in their careers, they stop wanting to be part of the corporate machines. They want to, as it says behind me, be their own boss. And there's this element, and I've hundreds of them, literally just wanting to give back to the business community. So you have these really talented, experienced people, you arm them with cloud technology, put them in touch with small, medium business owners and entrepreneurs, and magical things and lots of value to be created.
So that sounds really interesting, David. But let's talk a bit more about the virtual. So if I say virtual, it's what we're doing right now. So we're virtually meeting.
Yeah.
But is it that the same way the virtual CFOs are connecting with their businesses? How do you explain that?
It's so funny. I actually think the virtual CFO is the worst thing that's happened to the virtual CFO industry. The phrase virtual is terrible. I think virtual is used to describe the tools that we use to do the job rather than the way we service the business. But I think in the market, virtual is the way we service. And what happened, we actually did some market research on this. We went out to about 30 clients that we thought would have been ideal for us, a sort of 10 mil turnover type, not mum and dad businesses, but still SME. Sort of that sweet spot of SMEs, about 10 mil. We said, what does virtual mean to you? And the feedback that we got was, it means that you're not really there and you're not real, and it's a machine doing all the work. And so we sort of said, well, we'll drop the name virtual from our official business name, and we've changed the way we talk and go out and talk to business owners. Usually at the start of an engagement, we're on site with the client quite a lot. We're setting things up, building relationships, establishing trust. You write about that a lot. If we're the business partner, but if the business doesn't trust us, nothing happens. So we're very much about the business, and we're very much available for business owners. But again, going back to that cloud technology, we don't have to be on site to do the jobs that traditional business partners and finance leaders used to do.
Okay, so now it's at least more clear to me. So I mean, the way I see it, it's really a way for SMEs to get access to seasoned finance professionals who they don't really have the money or funds to hire themselves. So one could be saying that, well, isn't that just the same as hiring a consultant that comes in from time to time and do a bit of help and look through the numbers and maybe come with a few suggestions? Would you maybe talk about what are the differences between this concept of virtual CFO versus a consultant in a more classic term?
I think it's two things. I think we view our job, and the way SQL interprets virtual CFO, we're a full outsourced accounting function for a business if they want. So it's not just coming to pinch it when there's a particular project. It's actually saying, hey, I'm going to be with you. I'm going to grow your whole business with you. For us, we do the bookkeeping. We've got a center over in the Philippines, so we are a global business from that perspective. What that means is we're much more able to be, I guess, really close to the business and a part of the business. One of the challenges with consultants, we see this in the gig economy. You talk about a business of one, the gig economy is usually the next trend that gets spoken about with that. The gig economy gets sold as having ultimate freedom, work when you want, network and collaborate. The downside to that is uncertainty of income, lumpy cash flow. There's a boom and bust nature to work where you're just getting day rates. So being able to look at a full outsourced function, from our point of view as the consultant, it's not boom and bust. I've got a monthly recurring retainer with this particular business, and each month I've set deliverables. Very similar to how businesses sign managed service agreements with outsourced IT companies. I think that's sort of that business model's been around for 20 odd years. And I think that's really where this outsourced virtual CFO, very small start of an industry is probably going to go.
Okay, that definitely makes sense. So David, maybe you can then share a few examples of how your company has helped some of these SMEs do something that they couldn't do before, find new insights and make better decisions and what we all look for, create value.
Yeah, I mean, it goes from the little things to the big things. The little things are actually just helping business owners get control of their numbers. Sometimes you walk into businesses and it's a mess, there's paper everywhere, and what they think is a profit and loss statement is really just cash-coded entries. And so it's very tough so it can be as simple as just introducing accounting to actually work out what our profit is and where our profit centers are. And often that cleanup where engagements will start, because these $10 million businesses will hire a bookkeeper at the start when the entrepreneur starts the business. And as the business grows, no one ever thinks, hey, we better invest in our finance team. They're always investing in marketing and product and innovation. So it can be as little as that, or as big as we've helped clients negotiate major contracts, major supply contracts. One of our business partners has a long career in logistics. So hands off him. I know you're always hiring for good finance professionals in logistics, but he was able to help with a major supply contract with a small business, a $7 million business, that had just been asked to supply goods to one of the biggest supermarket retailers in Australia. Now, that business doesn't know how to negotiate a contract with a massive corporate like that. And we estimate $500,000 into that contract just through knowing how to do things.
That sounds outstanding, David. So obviously, value creation, you talk about it, it should be at the center of whatever finance professional is doing. And certainly, your business, if you can't create value or bang for the buck for your clients, then they are not gonna take your services. So maybe you can also about, so what does it really take to become a virtual CFO? I mean, and now you're in Australia, but do you see this as a global trend?
Yeah, I think if you can't add value, you do struggle. For us, the backbone of virtual CFO is financial forecasting. I like to think of the idea that just as every business has to get their tax return lodged every year, they also need to get their financial model and forecast updated. And through that, it's sort of monthly, at month end, you sort of force this actual to budget conversation to happen. So we create at least here's the space where we're going to go have the conversation about the value we're going to be adding in. You mentioned that the question it started in Australia, and thank you for that. I think it's because of the technology here; it's made it really easy for us. we've received interest for business partners to join Sequel from around the world, which is really exciting. Interestingly, it's come from companies that have had, I'd call them new economies or economies. Portugal, Brazil, Israel, which is a very high-tech startup culture-based economy. We've had inquiries from there, and I think a couple of Eastern European countries as well. It will follow, I think the trend of the talent being there is going to happen. Globally, there is a trend to reduce headcount in finance functions. Where that talent goes is the question. For me, I'm backing a country that's got strong internet and cloud accounting is having a high rate of adoption. I think those are the countries where a virtual CFO industry can explode.
So really, I mean, you also do see this as a growing global trend. So David, I mean, if people want to learn more about this, you know, of course they can read online, but where else would they meet to understand what are the next level of careers in accounting and finance?
Well, I mean, online's a great place. I mean, that's how you and I connected. So LinkedIn, I'm always very active on LinkedIn, but we've got something really exciting in Australia. And to all of your readers, I'm going to invite you to my great nation, Down Under, which, you know, we don't refer to ourselves as Down Under. Everybody else does. We're on top. In November this year, the World Congress of Accountants is going to be on. It's the largest gathering of accountants globally. It happens every 4 years. So they call it the Olympics of Accounting. I quite like that, but I'll be at World Congress of Accountants in November. Jump on World Congress, just Google it and have a look at the event there. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. I'm absolutely buzzed for it. So if anyone's looking, any passionate finance people and accountants are ever looking to come to Australia, here's your tax deductible opportunity for it.
Excellent, David, and thank you so much for taking the time to talk about the concept of virtual CFO. It definitely seems like you're doing some great thing and helping companies create some value which they otherwise wouldn't have had access to. So thank you very much, and we'll definitely speak again at another time. And I hope that my readers and followers will appreciate the insights that you've just given. So have a good evening, and stay in touch.
Thanks very much, Anders. And likewise, a big thank you to you. The content that you produce is fantastic, and it's brought a lot of people who are thinking the same together that otherwise would never have connected. So, you know, keep it up and let's keep contributing to the community.
Thank you, David.